Hello, my name is Leslie, and I'm going to give a introduction of what we are going to talk about. Our presentation deals with ancient Africa and the influences that pushed up to Egypt and later other parts of the world. We decided to present this because people have been made to believe that the first big civilization was Egypt, yet in reality it was actually some parts of Africa. Alexander was the first European to find Africa. He changed the way people saw Africa and the African people and culture. They made it seem like the African people were light colored and had some European features. One of the big reasons why they did this was because at first the Europeans did not understand them and in some way wanted to make Egypt their own. Two of the people that we will talk about to back up our research are John Henrik Clarke and Dr. Ivan van Sertima. They have a lot of evidence and extraordinary findings that people should know about and try to understand.
The earliest stages of human evolution are believed to have begun in Africa about 7 million years ago. From prehistoric Africa, humans spread out to populate much of the world by 10,000 BC. Some of the world's first great empires originated in northern Africa around 4000 BC when Egypt began to develop. As Egyptian society began to decline around 10,000 BC, people living further south along the Nile River started building a culturally independent society. Scientists who compared the skulls and DNA of human remains from around the world say their results point to modern humans, Homo sapiens, having single origin in Africa. The new data support the single origin or out of Africa theory for automatically modern humans, which says that these early humans colonized the planet after spreading out of the continent some 50,000 years ago. Therefore, the first civilization was started in Africa.
Hi, my name is Shariah Harris, and the portion of this group project today that I'll be covering will be the kingdoms and culture. I went over 4 kingdoms, and I also went over the cultures that each of the kingdoms experience within themselves. The first kingdom that I went over was the Kingdom of Kush. I learned that the Kingdom of Kush was established in 1070 BC, and the Kushite emperors ruled as pharaohs, which was very important because of the monarchy that they had set up to rule. The Kingdom of Kush was expelled. It was also short-lived. They were expelled early by the Assyrians. I learned that the Kushite capital, after they were expelled, was eventually captured and burned to the ground by the Kingdom of Aksum. The next kingdom I went over was the Kingdom of Ghana. The Kingdom of Ghana's government was also ruled by a monarchy. The Kingdom of Ghana was located in what we now call Western Mali, and the empire grew rich from the increased trans-Saharan trade, which exchanged gold and salt. The Kingdom of Ghana was surrounded by a lot of other independent kingdoms and eventually fell when it was sacked by the Almoravid movement. The next kingdom I'm going to talk about is the Kingdom of Aksum. The Kingdom of Aksum existed approximately 100 to 940 CE. This kingdom also had a government monarchy. The Aksumite rulers facilitated trade throughout their kingdom and formulated their own currency. The Aksum Empire eventually adopted Christianity as their religion. This empire was a trading empire, and it remained a strong empire and a strong trade system until the official rise of Islam.
Good morning, class. My name is Refugio Gonzalez Jr., and today I will be discussing ancient African history. Throughout history, there has been many claims that argue that ancient Africans were not a developed civilization. However, Dr. Ivan van Sertima has gathered evidence demonstrating that they were. Today, I will be presenting these claims made by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. The African and Native American technological advancements are ones that can be looked at in order to see how developed the civilization of ancient Africa was. They had things such as 1,800 degree steel smelting in Tanzania. The advanced irrigation system and architectural developments were adopted by Cortez as well. Some of these developments include floating gardens and pyramids. Taking a look at their agriculture, it dates back between 17 and 18,000 years, which is 10,000 years before any other civilization. Along with these developments, the Russians have discovered ancient African tools, which includes lenses. These ground-up lenses could have been used for binoculars or even telescopes. Looking back at other technological advancements that existed throughout ancient African history, we can see that they were a developed civilization. If we take a look at the mathematical system of ancient Africans, we can see that they were as advanced as it was complex. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima points out that their number system goes back 8,000 years. And if we take a look at the maps that they constructed, they were very precise illustrations of the Americas and oceanic currents. Another advancement that demonstrates their developed civilization is the African hair texture in sculptures of ancient Mexico. The reason this is important is because these sculptures were adopted by the Mexicans, and they are a clear indication that Africans were so developed that the ideas were borrowed from them. Overall, the ancient Africans were not savage, as many people believe, but they were a developed and modern group of people.
So in my part of this section, I'll be talking about the misconception of ancient Egypt. So the whole idea of this is that basically what ended up happening was that over time, from when slavery began to now that it's illegal here in the United States, but it's still affecting many African Americans, is that they lost a sense of culture. Now, the reason why people don't recognize ancient Egypt as part of Africa is because if they were to acknowledge that, yes, indeed, Egypt was the first civilization ever in the world and the birthplace was Egypt, they're going to feel a sense of nationality and pride, which at the time was the least thing slave owners wanted to have, because if they had that, then the Africans would have a sense of culture, which would have made it way more difficult for them to control them and keep them in check, honestly, which is really one of the biggest reasons why historians now really deny that Egypt was part of Africa, which would have totally contradicted everything. They used as an excuse to enslave them by saying they were uncivilized and so forth, but then at the end it's like, yes, the birthplace of civilization was in Egypt, which is really all but ironic. Now that I've gone over that, I want to talk about ancient Egypt itself and its history. The first recorded dynasty of ancient Egypt was between 3100 and 2686 BC. Ancient Egypt was located in northeast of Africa, right on the Nile River. The Great Pyramids were first located in 2630 through 2611 BC. Now, I want to talk about the first country that actually conquered Egypt, which was not Greek or the Romans. The first country to actually conquer Egypt were the Kush. The Kush was an African civilization just a little south of them, and eventually over time they came and conquered them. Now, I want to talk about the irony in this. So, right after the Egyptians were able to break away from the Kush kingdom, they went into a golden age. Now, a lot of evidence that really reinforces the idea that the only reason why the Egyptians were able to accomplish what they did, which were the pyramids, which they were only able to build after they broke away from the kingdom, the advancements in technology, medicine, mathematics, architecture, all that was thanks to the Kush kingdom, which was the knowledge that they were all given. So, now I want to go over what impact this really had on them and basically contradicting any credit that they say that the Romans gave them or the Greeks gave them. No, it was the Kush kingdom. Now, the last thing I want to point out is just the images that I presented here. Now, first you see on the left, it's a black pharaoh, not white, not brown colored, but a black pharaoh, which only furthers the idea that there was an African presence in ancient Egypt before the Romans or the Greeks came in. And also you could see on the right that the hieroglyphics were indeed different colors. It wasn't just one, it was multiple colors. Now, through the evidence I presented today, I really want to enforce the idea or just contradict the misconception that Egypt is not part of Africa, because from the information we could clearly see that Egypt has had a long history, and its history first began with African influence, not Greek influence or Roman influence, but African influence. Its architecture, its medicine, its knowledge, all was influenced by African kingdoms long before the Romans or the Greeks came in, which is what I want to talk or cover in this part of the section.